Our goal, our plan, which we're united on, is to make Donald Trump the quickest lame duck in modern history by showing how bad his policies are. He represents the oligarchs, as I said.
Meanwhile,
allow America to become an oligarchy.
In Denver, the anti-Trump sentiment was strong.
Oh, I think it's a disaster. And he talks about he has a mandate. He never had a mandate.
But so was the frustration with Democrats. How's the Democratic Party doing challenging this?
They got to be a little tougher.
Quit being a bunch of doormats. It feels like we're left stranded when everything feels like it's crumbling.
Tour's Western swing, Sanders was joined by New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
He has handed the keys of the federal government to Elon Musk.
Boy. So we have to continue our coverage of the Democrat Party civil war. Okay, right now the Democrat Party is currently in free fall because they don't have any real leadership. And this has created a power vacuum, so to speak, in which the socialist communist wing of the Democrat Party is now trying to take over the party by overthrowing the establishment socialist light leadership. Okay, make no mistake about it. The establishment Democrats, okay, the Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world that the socialists are trying to overthrow. They're trying to overthrow them because they're not far left enough. Not because they're not far left, okay? But they're not far left enough, okay? It's really a choice between far left or super far left when it comes to the Democratic Party at this point, okay? It does not seem as if they're going to go in the right direction. It does not seem like they're going to become more moderate, that they're going to once again appeal to working class, blue collar workers in this country who used to be the base of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is now the party of the rich, okay? Weirdos, freaks, low testosterone men, and high calorie women, okay? That is the Democrat Party at this point in a nutshell, okay? So what we have to talk about here today is this interview on ABC featuring Bernie Sanders, who is leading the revolt against Democrat leadership, along with AOC and the other lunatics in the Democrat Party. And he's going to be interviewing with Jonathan Karl. Okay, and Jonathan Karl is going to confront Bernie on overthrowing Chuck Schumer in the Senate, okay, on the Democrat Party revolt, because it's not just about Trump. It's about the fact that the Democrat Party, they're not far left enough, right, for these individuals. And Bernie is basically going to try to walk off the interview, right? He's going to rage quit after being confronted with what I believe to be a pretty fair question. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
You said that the passage of this bill, the continuing resolution, was a absolute failure of Democratic leadership. Who are you talking about?
Well, Schumer is the leader of the party, and it should not have happened, period. No question about it. But, you know, when we talk about Democratic leadership, we're talking about the Democratic Party in general. You know, so look, there's been nobody more critical of Chuck Schumer than I have been, and not just on this thing. But the bottom line is not just Chuck Schumer. It's not just Chuck Schumer. It is, you got a Democratic Party in general that is dominated by billionaires, just as the Republican Party is, that is operates under the leadership of a bunch of inside the Beltway consultants, very well paid, who are way out of touch with the 32,000 people who are here today.
AKA oligarchs, right? Oligarchs, okay? That is what Bernie should be saying, but he can't really come out and say that because it would look really silly for him to go on this tour to quote unquote fight the oligarchy, in which he's primarily talking about President Trump and Elon Musk. But the Democrat Party is an oligarchy. It is the party of the rich. In fact, the more money that you make, if you made over $100,000 a year, or you make over $1 million a year, or you're a billionaire, whatever, you're likely to vote Democrat. You're more likely to vote Democrat than Republican. Okay, the Republican Party has become the party of the working class, and I think that really pisses off Bernie because his whole thing, right, his whole brand is, oh, I'm a working class Democrat politician that's looking out for the poor, right? That's his whole angle. However, I think what a lot of people have realized about Bernie, at least me personally, okay, is that Bernie appeals to people who are very naive, who do not have much life experience, who don't pay taxes, probably don't work, and probably a lazy as well too. Okay. And that is why you have so many young college students, young people that support Bernie, because when you don't have life experience, Bernie and all his promises, it sounds great, right? He sounds like an amazing guy. And this is why it's hard to dislike Bernie, because I think he's genuine in regards to what he believes. I just think that what he believes is just not grounded in any real reality in regards to how we should function as a country. Okay, we just can't spend an unlimited amount of money for all of these social programs that Bernie believes in. Like, for example, he wants universal health care, okay, all paid for by the government, which we cannot afford right now because our country is obese. He wants a universal federal jobs program, which, again, we've seen how much of a disaster the federal government has been from being bloated with all of these jobs. He wants to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, which I know it doesn't really sound that bad, right? But again, this is how these socialists work. They'll start at 15 and then all of a sudden they'll be saying, no, we demand 25, right? And then 30, 40, $50 an hour minimum wage. That's what they do, okay? All of this stuff, inflationary, extremely inflationary. If Bernie was running this country, we would experience hyperinflation. So that's why I say, yeah, all this stuff on paper that Bernie talks about, it sounds great. It sounds amazing, okay, to naive people who don't have life experience, who don't work and who don't pay taxes. But once you start to actually learn more about life and how things actually work, you understand that Bernie would turn this country into Venezuela, right? That's exactly what we do, okay? And it's not just because he's a socialist, but also because of the fact that he's in bed with lunatics, right? Imagine a Bernie and AOC running the country. This country would be a woke, authoritarian, socialist mess. That's exactly what would happen. That's what would happen. Everything that you see happening in these liberal cities, right, that people are running away from, like people are literally leaving, a mass exodus away from these progressive policies, that would happen at the national level, right? And we can't have that, okay? So again, like I said, Bernie sounds great. I'm pretty sure he's a genuine guy, but he's for people who are naive, to be honest with you.
Ocasio-Cortez's criticism of Schumer has been harsher, fueling speculation she'll challenge him in the Democratic primary when he is up for re-election in 3 years. For his part, Sanders doesn't want to talk about whether or not Schumer should remain the Democratic leader in the Senate. And he got irritated when I asked him about the possibility of AOC running, abruptly getting up to end the interview.
Okay, you're out there with AOC today. Do you see her as a future of the progressive?
We have one of the untold stories of what's going on in current American politics is that in the House of Representatives, you have dozens and dozens of strong, smart, disciplined, hardworking young people in the Progressive Caucus. And you know, way back when I first came to the Congress and the House, I helped form the Progressive Caucus. We had 5 people in it at that time. Now they got close to 100. So you got a whole lot of good people. Alexandria is extraordinary. I am so impressed by her work in Congress and she inspires young people all over the country.
Would you like to see her join in the Senate?
Right now we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
No, I asked you.
Okay.
You know, you want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
I don't want to talk about inside the Beltway stuff. I got 32,000 people.
I was just asking you about AOC because she was out there with you.
No, fine, but I don't want to talk about this. What was the last question?
I was just going to ask you one more question about you. I mean, that's all. I was literally your last.
What is your question?
Well, I mean, it's easier if you're sitting. I mean, I want to ask you about your future. This is the biggest crowd you said you ran.
Okay, so Bernie Sanders, okay, what just happened here is why Bernie Sanders has failed as a leader, right? This is why he can't lead anybody anywhere. And I know I sound like I'm being hard on Bernie, but I gotta be, right? Because this guy, he should have actually been the Democrat nominee at the very least in 2020, but he was screwed over twice by his own party. And when he has an opportunity to actually, I don't know, create real change within the Democrat Party, to take over as a leader, to lead his wing of the party, to overthrow the establishment, he folds every single time, okay? I mean, when he ran in 2016, the DNC screwed him over, okay, by finagling the outcome of the primary in favor of Hillary. They did it to him again in 2020, and this dude still supports the Democrats? Why are you still supporting Democrats? Why are you still being so soft, right, when it comes to dealing with these people? They've screwed this man over time and time and time again, but yet he continues to fold every single time he's confronted with the hard choice of punishing the Democrat Party for screwing over the progressive base, right? At least this is, how they frame it. Because that question that this propagandist asked Bernie was a very fair question. Hey, do you see AOC as a leader, right? That's an important question. The Democrats don't have leadership right now. So yeah, Bernie, you should be answering questions about who is the leader, who's leading the progressive movement, right? Who's leading the progressive takeover of the Democrat Party? That's a fair question. It's also a fair question to ask whether or not AOC should be in the Senate, right? Should she run for Chuck Schumer's Senate seat? Why is that a fair question? Because all of this started in regards to this whole fight oligarchy tour, this nonsense that these people are doing, right? All of this really started when Chuck Schumer decided to fold on shutting down the government, right? When Chuck Schumer decided to fold on shutting down the government, that is when these people decided, all right, you know what? We're going to try to overthrow the Democrat Party. We're going to try to take it over. So if that's what you're trying to do, then you need to be straight up about what your intent is when it comes to transforming leadership. If you believe that AOC should take Chuck Schumer's seat, that she should run and try to become a senator, to be a leader in the party, then just say it. Just say it. That was not an out of bounds question. That was a perfectly reasonable question. That is a question that actually is pragmatic, right? Which is something that I don't feel like Bernie is, right? He's an idealist, okay? But when it comes down to the nitty gritty to actually, hey, are you really about that life? Once again, this dude is folding. Because if you're going to lead this movement, right? If this is such a dire situation, which is what they claim, then the answer to that question should be, yeah, AOC should try to take on Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer has to go. You should unequivocally come out here and say that Chuck Schumer needs to go. And this really tells you everything you need to know about Bernie Sanders as a leader. This is why his movement has failed, because his leadership is weak. Bernie is weak, okay? That's the honest to God truth. He is weak. He's a good guy. I'm sure he's a great guy, but he is weak, okay? Weak. Because a strong leader would have come out here and said unequivocally, yeah, Schumer got to go, right? AOC should take his spot, okay? He don't want to answer the tough questions. He wants to boo-hoo whine and cry about Trump, give his little talking points about how socialism is great for the country, right? That's what he wants to do. But when it comes to the actual, hey, do you want to overthrow Chuck Schumer? Should Chuck Schumer be overthrown? I don't know, right? Don't ask me those type of questions, right? Again, it's amazing how it works. And see, this is part of the reason why progressives are so mad at MAGA, right? Progressives really hate MAGA. They hate Trump because MAGA and Trump, we did to the Republican Party what the progressive base of the Democrat Party failed to do to the establishment Democrats, right? We overthrew the establishment Republicans, right? This is our party now, okay? I'm just saying, we have taken over. But when it comes to the Democrats, again, the Looney Tunes are dragging the establishment Democrats far left, right? But at the same time, they haven't completely taken over, right? They don't really run stuff. They influence things, okay? They make the Democrats more insane than they should be. But in regards to who's actually running stuff, no, they're not running anything, okay? So, again, that's why they're so upset with MAGA, okay? It's because, again, MAGA actually took over the Republican Party. We overthrew it. We were successful. They're not. They're a failure. And part of the reason why is because, again, they have weak leadership, right? They don't have a strong masculine man to lead them. But then again, I'm not sure how you can be a progressive and a strong masculine man, okay? Those two things don't really go together. So who knows, right? Again, my point is that Bernie should not have gotten triggered by this question. This was totally 100% a fair question. And him refusing to answer it, him getting up, again, it just shows you how weak of a leader he is.
Ran for president twice. This is the biggest crowd you've ever seen. Are we going to see you run again? Or what's your future?
Right now, I am very proud that the people of the state of Vermont sent me back to the Senate with 63% of the vote. Right now, I'm Vermont senator. That's what I do, and I'm very happy to do it. I am 83 years of age, and I'm tired.
All right, our thanks to Senator Sanders for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, so it doesn't like he's going to run. But again, the real question here that Bernie decided to avoid answering, again, is whether or not AOC is going to be able to overthrow Chuck Schumer. Because if AOC overthrows Chuck Schumer, if she runs against Chuck Schumer in the Senate and she takes his seat, she instantly becomes one of the most powerful Democrats, because AOC has what you basically need to be the leader of any one of these parties, right? Which is the ability to raise money, okay? AOC, again, say what you want about her, but there are enough idiots in this country that give her money where she's a major fundraiser for the Democrat Party. So she already has like that basic requirement, which is to be a good fundraiser, okay? And that is what Chuck Schumer is holding on to as excuse for why he should continue to be leaders, because, again, he's a great fundraiser. But AOC is also a great fundraiser. And if AOC dethrones Chuck Schumer, then, yeah, I mean, that would complete the progressive takeover of the Democrat Party. Like, at that point, again, the socialists and communists would actually be running the Democrat Party at that point. So we'll see, right, what happens. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.